America, I'm Brilyn Hollyhand, Editor-in-Chief of The Truth Gazette, here today in our nation's capital, sitting down exclusively with Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw. Mr. Crenshaw, it's an honor.
Great to be with you.
Thank you so much for what you're doing. And for your service to our country, thank you so very much. Let's go ahead and get started.
Sure.
What do you believe are the top 3 issues that need to be addressed in the House this Congress?
Well, I'll tell you what my priorities are. I come from a district that floods a lot, from Houston, so we suffered through Hurricane Harvey. We're still recovering from that. This is a great issue to be focused on, one, because it's important to my constituents, but also because it's not partisan, so that's good. What is partisan is another thing I'm focused on, which is border security, fixing our asylum loopholes. That is on an unsustainable trajectory right now. We had 144,000 people apprehended at the border just last month. I mean, this is not how you run a country, and this is no respect for our sovereignty or rule of law. It's not fair to legal immigrants trying to do it the right way. I would say the third thing, it's a tie for a lot of issues. All right, it's keeping our economy strong. It's making incremental changes to our healthcare system so that people can afford their drugs, people can afford their premiums. We have to be working together on these kind of things. We need to get the free trade deal through, USMCA. This is the NAFTA number 2, okay? This is important to Texans especially. Democrats have to stop hating Trump so much. They have to love their country more than they hate Trump. They have no reason to be against this deal, especially if they're Democrats from Texas. We've got to get that through in the short term. And we've got to keep our country safe from all the threats abroad. We're dealing with Iran right now. We're dealing with threats from China and Russia. We have to be working together as a Congress to face those.
Absolutely. With the Democratic majority of this Congress, do you expect much to be accomplished between now and the 2020 elections?
Well, I hope we can work together on some of those things I mentioned. When it comes to reforms to FEMA, for instance, we'll work together on that. When it comes to looking at cybersecurity threats from Russia and abroad, we'll generally work together on that, I think, too. I hope we can work together on an infrastructure bill and see exactly what that'll look like and come up with a reasonable amount of spending and targeted placement of that money on infrastructure projects that are actually worth investing in. We certainly have some of those in Texas that we'd like to invest in that I think will be good for our future. So I hope to see some of that happen, but right now the Democrats are mostly concerned with investigations, relitigating the Mueller report, and then impeachment.
You have been a strong and outspoken supporter of President Trump. What do you believe are his greatest accomplishments so far?
Generally the economy. When you deregulate and you cut taxes and you stop treating corporations and businesses like adversaries, it's amazing how dynamic the American economy is, and it's amazing what will happen, and that's what we've seen. He's just been able to unleash it by doing less. It's a good thing. I'd say that's number 1. He's got some great accomplishments on the foreign policy side too, with our policy with Israel, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Golan Heights, and generally being a good friend to an important ally, finally, because I don't think we've done enough of that.
Last Tuesday, President Trump officially kicked off his 2020 presidential campaign. Do you think the president will have a greater support base after his many accomplishments or less?
It's hard to say. We'll see. I hope it's bigger. I hope Americans come together and see what good governance looks like.
And I hope his accomplishments will play a big role in that.
I think so.
Last Thursday night, in response to Iran shooting down a U.S. spy drone, President Trump called off an airstrike in retaliation to Iran in its final minutes before lunch. Do you think the president made the right decision, and what should the U.S. do in retaliation for Iran's potential acts of war?
Yeah, on the one hand, I'd like to have a consistent policy. You do what you say you're going to do. On the other hand, we ended up with the best of both worlds on this issue. He was able to show the world that he's willing to strike. He's also able to show the world that he's willing to show restraint. So now the Iranians don't get what they want. What they wanted was to goad us into a tit-for-tat conflict where they could say on the world stage, hey, look, Europeans, look at us, we're victims, the United States is bullying us. Now they don't get that opportunity, but we were also able to show some strength in saying that we did decide to strike, although we pulled it back. You get the best of both worlds there. Even I don't think that was intentional, but it worked out really great in that sense. And now the ball's back in the Iranians' courts. We're going to put more sanctions on them, and they don't have the same. They don't have the ability to claim credibility the way they did before.
You serve on the House Homeland Security Committee as well as represent a district in Texas very close to our southern border. What are some of the main reasons you believe a border wall should be built in our nation's southern border?
Yeah, well, it's a border wall where that makes sense, and it's probably the most important thing to do is to close the asylum loopholes. What's happening right now is people are coming across in the tens of thousands of numbers, all right? So 144,000 last month. They are abusing our asylum process. They know that if they come with a kid, they'll be caught and released, all right? So they're turning themselves in. There's a lot of places where Border Patrol needs walls to basically funnel people to the right places and also prevent drug smugglers from using it. They use those immigrants to distract Border Patrol, and then they ship drugs in around them. They use them as a distraction. So you need walls for a lot of reasons. You got to give Border Patrol more tools. They need physical infrastructure, they need technology, and they need personnel. And they need the laws to work on their behalf. And right now our asylum laws do not work on their behalf. They're clearly and obviously abused.
And with the topic of the border wall, recently you tweeted, quote, "Securing the border is an essential element of maintaining sovereignty, but some of my colleagues don't think it's necessary." What do you think of your colleagues on the left who sit behind gated and guarded fences in their own homes, but don't think it's necessary to have one for our own country?
Well, they live in a fantasy world. I mean, they claim this moral superiority. They claim to be such good citizens, but they would never let these people go stay in their guest house.
Yeah.
They won't pay for money for them to stay in a hotel. They'll say, "Oh, look at the conditions," but they won't. We asked 15 times to fund the president's request for humanitarian aid. They finally do it yesterday because the Senate pressured them to, but they do it in a way that undermines enforcement. So we couldn't vote for it. They knew they were putting poison pills in that spending bill. So I don't think they want this solved. I think they prefer to simply pontificate about how bad the situation is without ever offering a solution. The American people have to wake up and say, "Hey, wait a second, you guys aren't offering any solutions." It's almost as if you want this to keep going. They're all about moral virtue signaling and not about solutions. And I don't think they fundamentally care about maintaining our sovereignty and rule of law and the basic notion that as Americans we have the right to manage who comes in and out of our border.
Exactly. Congressman Dan Crenshaw, it's been an honor. Thank you so much for sitting down with us and for your service to our country.
Thank you.